welcome to an evening of Earth Etudes for Elul. I think the first year there were some Earth Etudes for Elul was 2012. So we've been doing this for about 11, 12 years, something like that. So, but this is the first time we're doing this and gathering people to hear some of this wisdom that and that people have shared through their etudes. So I'm really delighted to have all of you here with us. I'm Rabbi Katie Allen. I am the co-founder of the Jewish Climate Action Network, which is one of the sponsors of both the etudes in this event and Mayan Tikva, my little alternative outdoor congregation. And so both of which all connected to all things earth related. So Earth Etudes for Elul, an etude is a short little piece of music. May have something that you kind of practice in there. And so these are short little pieces that are helping us practice and get ready for the high holidays during the month of Elul. And I'm always delighted to see the variety of what people offer for their reflections. They vary considerably, and you're going to get a taste of that variation this evening. And I'm just so delighted to have some of you folks here live together with us, live on Zoom. I guess that's anyway, we're all together on Zoom, which is just really wonderful. So thank you for coming. And just so you know, this is recorded. So I'm inviting each of the etude writers who's here to first, I will introduce them. They will read their piece, or however it will get presented to you. And then they will reflect a little bit on either this particular etude that they wrote or the process of writing etudes over the years, what it has meant to them. So I hope you're ready. Here we go. The first etude presenter is Rabbi Judy Coomer. She is a board certified chaplain in private practice, offering skilled spiritual care visits, elder care programming, and warm life cycle events. She has served as executive director of the Jewish Chaplaincy Council of Massachusetts and other nonprofits, and has served congregations in DC, New York, and New Jersey. She is happiest outdoors hiking in the woods, swimming in a lake at sunset, or tending to her Boston organic garden. So Rabbi Judy Coomer comes to us from Boston. So it's all yours, Judy. Go for it.
So it's a delight and an honor to be here and to be able to share these words with you all. So my etude is scheduled to be put on the web, to be, what do we say, published, Katie? Yeah.
So,
on I think at the end of the month, so another bunch of days, so it hasn't come out yet. So previews of coming attractions. So this is called Embracing Change, or the muck at the bottom of the pond. Change doesn't come easy for most of us. Many know the joke about the Buddhist monk who says to a hot dog vendor, "Make me one with everything." Chuckling, the vendor assembles the hot dog, gives it to the monk, and says, "That will be $4, please." The monk hands over a $20 bill, which the vendor pockets. After a moment, the monk asks for his change, at which point the vendor taps his chest and responds, "Change? Change must come from within." I grew up in a family not known for a love of change. My late grandfather was, in fact, so set in his ways that for some 50 years he used a particular hair oil in the days when men wore hair oil, and it turned out he hated this brand. So why continue using it? "I've used it all these years," he said. "Why should I change now?" Why change, indeed? Well, there are things we might do better, or might do at all, if only we were to try to change. Our Jewish tradition actually encourages us to change. When we wish each other a Shana Tova, a happy new year, we can remember that the word Shana comes from the verb lishanot, to change. So in fact, we're wishing each other a good change. I am a distant swimmer. Lately, I've faced a somewhat distressing situation. In the middle of blissful summertime lake swims with blue skies overhead and green trees all around and sunshine spangling the silky water through which I glide, my body exulting with good health and my soul feeling full to overflowing, it's been distressing that I have run aground not once this summer, but several times. It seems this year that my kick is off. One stroke has me swimming in less than straight lines. As I come ashore unwittingly, my hand will suddenly graze an underwater rock. My foot will touch the muck at the bottom of the pond. Limbs that had expected to feel nothing but the steady glide through water are now coming into contact with objects. And I will admit that I find the muck especially yucky. It feels slimy and rotten. While it's been lying there placidly, it makes me wonder about any small creatures whose homes I had just disturbed, who creepily might be swimming up to join me. But this is my new reality. Until I get my strokes straightened out, I may be swimming ashore, whether I've aimed there or not. It seems like encountering this newness, this muck at the bottom of the pond, may be an experience I will need to learn to accept. And then, if I can accept this, who knows what other newness I might be open to, I might even embrace. As we approach the high holidays, we are asked to do a cheshbon nefesh, a spiritual stock taking, identifying patterns of behavior that might not have served us well in the past, and experimenting with changing them. Perhaps we don't have to go wading gleefully into the muck we might find, but putting a toe or even a foot down onto unfamiliar terrain can lead to a realization that it's not so bad, that there's been no harm, that newness could even possibly lead to good things. And it might result in our broaching some things we might have shied away from trying up until that point. Our Jewish tradition holds hope that a new future might unfold for us, sparkling in the sunlight, if only we'll be willing to try to change. Shana Tova, a good change. So, you're muted.
Thank you. And I love that connection to the muck. That's great. Thank you. So I just invite you to reflect a little bit on Etudes.
So it has been really a delight to be part of this project, and I owe a debt of gratitude to Rabbi Katie for allowing me to participate. And Rabbi Katie and I have had a long time relationship. She was a member of my chaplaincy staff and was one of the very first on my staff to become board certified as a chaplain, and so proud. And anyway, it's a delight to be relating in this other context as well. I will say that one of the interesting things about this effort is that for years, since 2002, I think it is, I've had a high holiday pulpit in Washington. I live in Boston, but I've had this high holiday pulpit in Washington. So during at least the second half of the summer, if not the entire summer, I am in pre-high holiday mode. I'm thinking about high holiday themes. I have a feeling I'm not the only one on this call who could nod their head about this. We're all busy thinking about these high holiday themes and thinking about the ways that I can talk about some of these themes, especially about change, in a sort of more global way, in a way that might be about any of the people who would be sitting in the synagogue where I officiate. But this project, this effort, these etudes, this is very personal. And that's one of many reasons that I feel like I owe a debt of gratitude to you, Katie, because it allows for an expression of that more personal experience with the high holiday themes. And then it comes out in this environmental idiom, in this idiom that has to do with nature, which is so much a part of my spirituality. And again, I have a feeling I'm not the only one on the call who could say that about their spirituality, that it's really grounded in nature and in the environment. So thank you very much, Katie, for the opportunity to write. Again, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep doing that. So it's been a way for you to personalize the process and zero in on something very personal, which then comes out as a gift to all of us in what you share. So that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Shana Tova, everybody. Shana
Yeah,
Tova.
thank you. And I love that, I mean, that's something I've never
didn't hear you.
focused on and definitely it's in my head now. So our
I
next
think we'll
reader-
take questions
Oh, yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah. Just want
I
to.
think we want to keep moving along right now.
Oh, okay. Should we wait and just take some reflections at the end?
Yeah, some questions at the end.
Okay.
We have
so-
questions from the audience.
Okay, and feel free to just write something in the chat too, so we don't lose it. So our next reader is Andy. And Andy Oram is a writer and editor in the computer field. Andy also writes often on health IT, on policy issues related to the internet, and on trends affecting technical innovation and its effects on society. Print publications where his work has appeared include The Economist, Communications of the ACM, Copyright World, the Journal of Information Technology and Politics, Vanguardia Dostler, and Internet Law and Business. He has lived in the Boston, Massachusetts area for more than 30 years, and he's self-published a memoir, Backtraces 3 decades of computing, communities, and critiques, and his poems have been published in many journals. So, Andy, you're bringing a different perspective, so take it away.
Maybe, I don't know. Okay, my etude is called Priestly Atonement and Cleansing the Environment. And it was published on my Antikva on Monday, this past Monday evening. Here we go. Can you really have an impact on climate change by switching to veggie burgers or lowering the heat in winter? How about making a change at work that shaves some of the carbon footprint off of your product? Do these really matter when the world continues to pump tons of more carbon into the atmosphere each year? The Jewish tradition offers a useful perspective on this question in the afternoon Yom Kippur service, where we recreate the atonement ceremonies of the temple's high priest. Atonement is divided by this tradition into 3 parts that must be observed in strict order. First, the high priest's family, then the house of Aaron, and finally the whole people. I'm going to get a little bit fussy here, so keep with me. Leviticus 16:17 hints briefly at this 3-part ceremony preceding the release of the scapegoat. But the ceremony does not appear in the meticulously detailed Talmud tractate about Yom Kippur. It seems to have been imagined by much later generations. Let's use these stages of atonement as analogies for our own psychological, spiritual, and moral evolution. Perhaps lowering the thermostat or instituting recycling doesn't make a difference in itself, but provides a jumping-off point for education and activism. Consider the first atonement involving your family. You are modeling for your children and neighbors by changing your behavior to be more environmentally friendly. You achieve a bit of spiritual purification by purifying your trip to work of fossil fuels, or purifying your food consumption of polluting animal products. You also spur on activism because you think, if I can make this change without suffering, I can persuade others to do things with a much bigger impact. And taking family in a broad sense, not just the nuclear family that is familiar from the past couple hundred years, you can bring climate action into your local community. The second stage in atonement is in the workplace, symbolized by the Levites carrying out temple worship. Now you have moved from individual statements to demanding a commitment from your workplace that it will reduce, reuse, and recycle instead of dumping all its carbon production on the world. Such activism is nothing less than a redefinition of the role of work and corporations in society. Finally, one gets to the third stage involving global action. You have modeled environmentally conscious behavior demanded reciprocal actions from your community and workplace, and make the climate a central concern for everyone with whom you have come in contact. Collective action is more than just the accumulation of individual actions. But collective action is not something you can jump into all at once. The Yom Kippur Atonement Service shows how to think of upping your activity in a matter of grave concern to the whole of creation. Thank you. Unmute.
Thank you, Andy. So, you know, I love this analogy, this comparison, this connection between, you know, the priestly process and our own process in the communities. So thank you for that. And I just invite you to reflect a little bit on the Etudes, this one or all of them that you've written, and share some of your reflections on that.
I actually had some thoughts just tonight as we were starting, and it's a big achievement of yours. It's a big tribute to you, Rabbi Kate. You've pulled together so many interesting people with so much expertise, and each have something individual to say. And I think people approach it in different ways. For me, I'm a writer. I like writing essays, expository essays, as well as stories and poems and stuff. I'm not a rabbi or an academic. I'm an Am Haaretz. That's the term we use in my Daf Yomi group. We call each other Bet Am Haaretz, the people of the earth, the people who don't know anything. And when I write these things, I've done about 10 of them for Mayan Tikva. And I've been looking into the corners, the obscure corners of the Tanakh, and now of Talmud too. And I do seem to find something new each year. But I notice that my stuff often comes out looking more academic than what the rabbis and the academics do. I think for them, what you offer is a chance to let loose and relax and be themselves. And I think that's great for everybody.
That's an interesting point that I had also noticed too. And I love when we get a mixture of things. So thank you for bringing this perspective. Thank you very much. Okay, so our next etude is a little bit different. It's going to be a video. This is from Dr. Kara Judea Al-Hadef, who has published dozens of books and essays on interreligious eco-justice, philosophy, ethnic studies, and gender, and her photographs have been defended internationally by freedom of speech organizations, and she's a former professor at UC Santa Cruz and teaches, performs, and parents a creative zero waste life in Colorado. So welcome, Kara, and I think Kara, sorry about that. And did you want to say something first before, or should we let Thea show you?
I think I'll give just a little bit of background, if I may.
Yes.
And first of all, thank you, Rabbi Katie, so very much. So this video excerpt, a short version of the excerpt actually, plays with the absurdity and complexity of our consumption-obsessed, waste-oblivious society, particularly in the midst of greenwashing, environmental racism, green colonialism, and the fallacious, quote unquote, renewable energies movement. And I imagine co-evolution where we listen to stories that objects tell. Doing this performance workshop, Climate Manifesto, where I lectured and danced in two contradictory costumes. One is in front of a diptych of West Virginian children coal miners from the 1800s, a diptych with Congolese children lithium miners, so lithium and cobalt for example, electric vehicles. So in that scene, I'm wearing a VHS tape ribbon, so from VCRs, tape ribbon, hand knitted, Mobius looped dress. And And let's see. So again, the cobalt mined in the Republic of the Congo, and those are children miners. I have some details about that. And the VHS ribbons are made from mylar, which is coated with toxic materials, allowing the tape to carry a magnetic signal, allowing the tape to tell stories. And then the second costume that you'll see is from it's a fiber shed, multi-species communally created wool outfit composed of multiple animal fibers, ranging from yak to sheep and to goat. And it's a part of a bioregional collaboration involving over 30 fiber shed community members. So I'll describe this. And again, this has to do with the idea of technology, the root of which means to weave. And the image that you'll see is from my interfaith climate justice book, Zazu Dreams, Between the Scarab and the Dung Beetle, a cautionary fable for the Anthropocene era. It's a book about Jewish histories, Sephardic histories in particular, in relation to climate justice. And the image is painted by my mother, Michaela Amato Amato. So this is an excerpt of a video. Thea, if you can roll that, please. Instead of the underlying racist, xenophobic, ethnocentric, and anti-immigration implications of the question, actually the double question, where are you from? No, where are you really from? Instead of those questions, that question being directed at people who appear different from us, the supposed us, I'm suggesting what a thrill it is that we should be asking, we could be asking, we must be asking this question about the objects in our daily lives, the objects that we take, potentially, that many of us take for granted. When this double question is asked to people, what we're doing is turning these individuals into objects. However, when we ask this question to objects in our daily lives, we are witnessing those very objects as subjects. We're taking on eco-theologian Thomas Berry's challenge. He says, we must say of the universe that it is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. Because this is the counter, this is the fiber shed. So in the first portion, I'm wearing the mylar stories, those toxic stories, and then this is the fiber shed referring to like a watershed, referring to the local fibers, local dyes, local labor in relation to the textile industry and the horrors of fast fashion in the textile industry. Of the Holocaust, there is a scene where the main character confronts the cruelty of indifference as motivation for murder. Human beings considered useless can be carelessly disposed of. As a child of a Holocaust survivor, it is particularly horrifying for me to witness how industrial civilization continues to harness apathy and contempt of difference. My ancestral memory, my cellular memory, tells me we must reconsider waste in terms of symbiotic kinship. A pencil, a rubber band, a square of toilet paper, a fruit tree, a family pet, a friend, a human friend, or a stranger in a distant land, all connected to us as kin. What if we didn't see these objects or subjects? What if we didn't see them as superfluous? What if we actually understood where they came from, their meanings as valuable, where they came from, and where they collectively are going? I'm asking you to imagine the impossible. Imagine our epigenetic potential, a profound shift in how we are evolving, in how we can co-evolve. So again, just to clarify, thank you. The second outfit, those were all the tags were made on local hemp paper with on a typewriter, 1950s typewriter, indicating the species of sheep, the breeder, the knitter, weaver, etc. So again, based on bioregionalism rather than these abstracted, alienating economies.
Wow, that's so powerful, Kara. Thank you for sharing. Kara. I'll get it by the end here. Kara, sorry
Yes,
about that.
sorry.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And obviously, I don't think you created this whole thing specifically for the Etudes, but you did some putting things together a little bit. And this is your first year with the Etudes, so I just invite you to offer whatever you feel moved to about the whole project process.
Yeah, it really reminds me actually of a mosaic, and of what you're inviting so beautifully, Rabbi Katie, is reminds me of a reflection of Tikkun Olam in terms of this repairing, gathering of our shattered selves, coming together and creating, Judith, as you said, this new version, the change. And through this personal political bridging and the connective web that that is beautifully illustrated with all of us coming together. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. So the word mosaic, I feel like, is a really appropriate, because there's always such the pieces always come together to create a slightly different picture each year. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so oops, I got myself confused here. Okay, so I think our next one is Rabbi Robin Damsky. So she is an innovator redefining Jewish life and leads Limitless Judaism, a project of learning, movement, meditation, melody, art, tilling and tending the earth, and that draws the lines of connection between our physical bodies, our spiritual expression, and our earth cosmos. So she's a rabbi in residence at Judea Reform Congregation, and she lives in Efland, North Carolina. So here we go. Robin, it's your turn. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks, Katie, and thanks everybody. I'm so moved and inspired by each of the teachings that I've heard this evening, and I'm almost in tears. Kara, I'm also a dancer. We need to talk. So here's my piece. It's very personal. I live a life of privilege. From being a single mother, I have a student loan debt for myself and my daughter that would take 20 debt cancellations to settle. I'm not kidding you. I'm approaching Medicare age, and my hair thins by the hour, but I am healthier than most. I dance. I understand and prepare healthy food. I teach people about the earth. As a Jew, I'm in the minority, but I have a voice and a platform through which to share and amplify that voice. I am newly married to the love of my life, and I live atop a mountain that has views from here to forever. Maybe I'll do a quick glimpse of you. This is a sunset photograph that I took quite recently from my front steps. Just over 2.25 acres, our plan is to turn this property into a food forest with a meditation labyrinth of native pollinators. So much richness. And with all this privilege, we have a worry about water. Our property has a well that is slow producing. We are now awaiting a third opinion because in recent months, we've been told, number one, the well is healthy, and conversely, not to grow food here at all because the well just won't produce enough water. This is a microcosm to me of the water concerns that we see all over the globe. Me not growing food is not an option. Not just because it's a way to care for the earth, not just because it's a way to provide healthy food for family, neighbors, community, not just because it's a way to facilitate others in enhancing their relationship with the land, but because this is my teshuvah. It is my way to express my gratitude to the Creator for my life and my sustenance. And it is a way, even if it's very small, to mitigate climate change, even a tad. Composting, building soil, using permaculture and other regenerative practices to grow ecosystems. This is my return to source, my return to my soil soul. How do you experience your soil soul? Are you fueled to grow things? Are you impelled to political work on climate change? Are you teaching people about the ocean, the air, going hybrid or electric, biking or using public transportation? How do you feed the soil being that you are? The Adam from Adama, the human built from the earth. Nourishing your soil self is the teshuvah that the future of the earth's ability to sustain us is dependent upon. I recommend slowing down. When I do, I breathe better. So I'll take a breath. When we're breathing, our interconnectedness with all that is pervades our cells, our knowingness. We remember. We remember that we are one with the soil. In that remembering, the right teshuvah for our essence manifests itself. And we blossom. We will grow food on this mountain. We're looking into cisterns, swales, ponds, any way we can catch water, store water, send water back into the soil to nourish life. We'll keep feeding the earth and feeding one another, returning to the earth over and over again for our guidance, remembering that every breath is a privilege.
Wow. Thank you so much, Robin. That was just very beautiful. And, you know, and the view out your front porch is amazing.
I'm going to actually just take this risk to take my camera for a second and see if
Oh my gosh.
hold
Yeah.
on, I gotta do this a little bit. There we go. So this is
Oh.
before sunset and it's cloudy outside, but you can see some of our property here.
Yeah.
And we have more on the sides and the back than we do in the front, but we have really a blank slate to work with because it has never been cultivated here except for a lot of grass.
Transforming the grass into something richer and wonderful that heals the soil and the soul. That's great. That's beautiful.
And teaches people, you know, not only by having them work with us, but by viewing as they come by.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to invite you to, you've been writing Etudes for a while.
Yeah, a long time.
So I'd just like to invite you to reflect on that process. Or
Thank you. Yeah. So I've been doing this for at least 9 years, I think, maybe more. And I look forward to this every year because there are not a lot of platforms that I am familiar with that really ask us to focus on and share something that's earth related in this kind of a construct in preparation for the high holidays. What are we doing that brings our attention to not only the things that we may normally think about, oh, who do I need to ask forgiveness of? And what have I done here that I could do better and blah, blah, blah. But where do I come from? I come from the earth. And, you know, just the hurricane last week and the fire last week, I think they were both in the same week, and all of the death. How can we not include our relationship with source, with the planet in our process of teshuvah. So for me, this is a real joy every year. And I'm so grateful to you, Katie, for making this happen each year and for giving me an opportunity to not only think rabbinically, but think very, very intimately. I think Judith, you said personally. It's personal. And I share my emotions here because they just, we need to feel as we
Yeah, so true, so true. Thank you, that is true. There are often a lot of these that are very personal, so it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Our next reader is Rabbi Margaret Frisch Klein. And let me just see, so who is the rabbi of Congregation Knesset Israel in Elgin, Illinois, where she enjoys hiking and running. And she blogs as the Energizer Rabbi and has 2 books, one of which is Climbing Toward Yom Kippur, so pertinent here. And she serves on the various nonprofit boards and volunteers as the Elgin police chaplain. So, and we got to know each other saving gas by commuting together to New York to school for many years. So, okay, so it's your turn, Margaret. Go ahead.
So I feel like mine actually needs a trigger warning maybe at the beginning. This was written before some of the most recent events that so clearly point to climate change. And also, this is my husband's birthday, and it's 100 degrees in Chicagoland today. So one of the things that I learned, my congregation has a mission statement that includes 4 planks that includes lifelong learning. One of my learnings yesterday is that when it's this hot, there can be problems with radio waves and the internet. So if I break up, it's not entirely my fault. Okay.
It's our collective fault, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Right, exactly. So now I will read it, or maybe sing a piece of it. I'm a lifelong Girl Scout. My love of the out of doors comes from many years of camping, hiking, canoeing, and yes, for Judy's benefit, swimming at Girl Scout camp throughout the Midwest, Canada, and yes, New England. All summer, I've been haunted by an old camp song known as Canadian Wilderness, or The Life of a Voyager. One verse sings, "The call of the lonely loon, coyotes howling at the moon, wind rustling through the trees, that's our Canadian breeze, smoke rising from the fire, up through the trees in a stately spire, breathe a sigh in the evening glow, sun goes down, those north winds blow." It paints a picture of canoeing from town to town and the beauty of the wilderness. This has been a summer of smoke. Smoke from Canada, smoke from wildfires, beautiful sunsets, but those sunsets belie the fact that the smoke is dangerous. Air quality alert days, hard to breathe, apocalyptic looking photos must stay inside. This is not a new problem. Years ago, Canada was not happy with the United States for sending acid rain to Canada. Now we hear some Americans unhappy with Canada for the smoke. The American government has sent aid, and still it is not enough. Those fires, multiple fires, may not even be fully out until after the first snowfall. It's not Canada's fault alone. Climate change is real. It's hard to deny it, although some do, in this hottest summer ever recorded. Ocean water temps in Florida over 100 degrees. More than 15 days of scorching heat in the desert Southwest of more than 115 degrees. Athens at 111 degrees, and Greece has fires too. Drought in Illinois leading to early fall leaves falling off the trees in June. Tornadoes and floods and other storms. This is a global problem. It demands a global solution, not years from now, right now. It also demands spiritual discipline. One of the first steps in teshuvah, returning or repentance, is confessing our sins. Part of the Yom Kippur liturgy is reciting Al-Chet, for the sin which we have sinned. Here are a few new verses for this emergency. For the sin which we have sinned by not taking care of the earth, and for the sin which we have sinned with our haughtiness. For the sin which we have sinned by not listening to and believing scientists, and for the sin which we have sinned by denying what is happening. For the sin which we have sinned by not realizing how interconnected we are, and for the sin which we have sinned by not recognizing that our individual actions impact others. For the sin which we have sinned by our reliance on fossil fuels, and for the sin which we have sinned by not developing and using alternative energy sources. For the sin which we have sinned by not protecting our waterways, and for the sin which we have sinned by not providing drinkable water. For the sin which we have sinned by continuing to purchase to excess, and for the sin which we have sinned by using too much packaging. For the sin which we have sinned by wanting food at any time, from anywhere. And for the sin which we have sinned by not supporting local farms and buying local food in season. For the sin which we have sinned by refusing to act, and for the sin which we have sinned by refusing to protect our inheritance for the next generations. For all these sins, O God of creation, pardon us, forgive us, grant us atonement. For all of these sins, ruler of the whole universe, inspire us, strengthen us, and give us the courage to repair your world.
Amen. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. There's like, yes, there's this cumulative effect that's happening here this evening, and you bringing that Al-Khaib right in there just really is like, yeah.
Well, while I know some of the other presenters, right, we did not compare notes before we wrote.
That's right. Exactly. That story magic thing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Margaret. And so I just invite you as well to reflect a little bit on the etude process.
So I also have been writing these for a long time. I went back tonight to figure out when and where. I think my first one was in 2012.
I think that might have been the first year.
Could have been. But it fits sort of nicely also with what others have said about helping to prepare personally. I used a piece of this as part of my Devar Torah this past week because we learned about Bal Tashchit, to not destroy. For me, it was gutsy. I live in Chicagoland, but in Kane County, which is more politically diverse than Chicago itself. And so we have a political free zone, and climate change has been deemed political. So I had to find a way to couch it in such a way that it would be palatable. And people have said, well, can we use the Al-Chet as part of Yom Kippur? And I don't know, I haven't decided yet. It seems risky, It shouldn't be risky, but it seems risky. On the other hand, my father was an early ecologist. He was part of the original team that put together Earth Day. So one of the things that happens, like I've been aware of climate change since I was in 4th grade, and he went to bat with my 4th grade teacher over something in the Weekly Reader because he didn't agree with the science in it. That was on the ozone. It was a long time ago already. So, it links the generations too. And so that this is a place where, as others have said, I can express some of that. And maybe, with the wider audience and all of the work that you, Rabbi Katie, have done as an Earth chaplain. People are confused when I say you're an Earth chaplain, by the way. And the work that JCAN has done, that maybe, like the butterfly effect, we can begin to, we have to do more than begin, but we have, maybe we
Right.
can. I'll never forget the time that you were at an AJR retreat talking about your rainbow kippah in tears.
Yes,
to you.
didn't have the black anymore. For a while, I had it with black
And
around.
truly, it was written before Hawaii. It was
Yeah,
written before a friend of mine in Canada had to leave last week because her house was at risk.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. There's always another thing, isn't there? There's always what's coming next. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Margaret. Thank you for all that reflection. And there's been a couple of times recently I'm really like, oh, I cannot do these etudes again. It's like so much effort.
What
and
else can we say? I mean,
then I'm like, but I need it for myself. So, I have to do it. That's how I get ready for the high holidays too. So yeah, I'm with you, all of you in that process. Yeah, thank you.
and really, I don't think I was supposed to be singing Canadian Wilderness sitting at choir practice when they were singing Kol Nidre. That's how it happened. Because until
Wow.
then, I had nothing.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is Dee here? Did you arrive? I'm not sure.
Dee is here. Dee is
Oh,
here.
Dee's here. Oh, fabulous. Okay, great. Okay, so Dee Herman is next. And so let me just get connected. Yes. Thank you for Dee Fisher Herman. Dr. Dee Fisher Herman is
Not doctor, no doctor.
oh, D Fisher. Okay, sorry, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, she received a SMICA from the Olive Ordination Program and served as hospice chaplain. And she's now in retirement and writes and makes art and grows vegetables and rides her bike. Do you hear a little bit of a commonality here among our hobbies? And does climate activism in Maryland and serves as the Jewish Earth Alliance steering committee. So we're connecting across to another Jewish climate organization here, which I love. So thanks for coming. And
Thanks for inviting me.
yeah, so I invite you to share your etude with us.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi Katie. This is a privilege to do this and an honor. And I agree. I know that I imagine that it's challenging to organize every year, and that there's a part of you that wants to say I'm done, but then you can't be done because you need it for your soul needs it. We all need this. This is a poem called Slichot that I wrote in 2006. What is the color of forgiveness? Is it pink, delicate as the bloom of a peace rose? Is it green, refreshing like the mist from the sparkling sea? Is it red, warm as the rock in the desert sand? Is it yellow, bright as the sunflower in a summer's field? Is it blue, cool as the water under the azure sky? Is it brown, rich like the soil beneath our weary feet? Is it black, dark like the night surrounding each of us? It must be white, reflecting God's light, crafting peace, healing wounds, spreading love, holding all.
Thank you. Thank you. What color is forgiveness? It's so, when I first read that, I was like, whoa, this is so incredible how you connected each color with something different. So thank you for all of that. So is this your first time to do an etude, or did you do
No, I
one?
think this is my fourth.
Oh my goodness. Shows you where I'm at. Okay. So you've been doing this for a little while too. So you just want to reflect on what it means to you?
Well, it's I feel like it's a way to connect with a bigger world than just me personally, that I'm not alone in this effort. And we all need each other. And I did the drawdown training 4 years ago before COVID with people in my community. And to find people in my community in that way, in that training, was really, really important, because I learned about the need to engage broadly in community as a way to help create the change that we need to create, that we need to get going on this. And, we can feel, oh, I'm really good because I recycle my bottles, but it's not even a measurable thing to do that, and to do things on the national scale, which I'm happy to do with the Jewish Earth Alliance, but which is a very slow process. I feel like there's something that can be done communally, on a community level, that is really important for all of us to feel like we're connected and doing things that make a local difference, a regional difference. So, and to do this with you and connect with Jewish people all over is even more wonderful. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I heard echoes in what you were just saying of Andy's etude about those sort of layers of activism. So yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing your etude and your reflections. That was great. So our last one is Thea, who is our tech person here tonight. Thank goodness. And so she is the last one of the etude. Hers was the very first etude in this year's series. So she has been called a shimmering bridge between heart and mind. And she's an inductee into the International Educators Hall of Fame. And her poetry has been published widely in a variety of anthologies and journals. And she's the author of the ecofeminist novel, The Swallow and the Nightingale, and a member of the Northeast Storytellers and the Jewish Storytellers of New England. So Thea, you organizer, you are your tech person, you're now transforming into an etude person. So
Yeah, plus doing my own tech. So I will try to do all that. Hi. Okay, this is called The Perception of Time. I'm driving home from Marblehead, where we commemorated Erev Tisha B'Av. My trip home seems so much faster than my trip there, even though my GPS says travel time is 45 minutes each way. As I stare out the window, watching headlights cut through the darkness, I'm baffled. Why can't I measure time? We measure distance, size, and number without difficulty. I can know if I fit through a door or whether the leftover spaghetti will fit into a refrigerator container. I know how many fingers I have, and I can point to where a sound is coming from. But I can't judge the real time it takes to travel from point A to point B. Time is like slime. I know how slippery it is. I know that time, like life, cannot be contained. We break time up into pieces like years and days and seconds. We use external things for measurements. We measure days and years by the apparent motion of the sun relative to the earth. We measure months by the phase of the moon, and hours, minutes, and seconds. We inherited these base 60 divisions from the Sumerians 5,500 years ago. Neuroscientists tell me our perception of time is a combination of neural processes that are changed by emotional states, level of attention, memory, and disease. The less attention paid to the task, the faster time passes. Before our Tisha B'Av ritual, I went swimming in the Atlantic Ocean. The seaweed was thick, a dull red carpet that didn't protect my feet from the sharp rocks. Thankfully, the pain doesn't persist in time. They say in Florida, the ocean is like bathwater now. That's what I was hoping for, even though I knew that would be terrible. For my human comfort, I want warmth and no bugs. But for the health of the planet, I want cold oceans and thriving insects. I can hold conflicting ideas in my head without a problem. Computers can't do that. How can I find a balance in the conflict between my creature comforts and behaviors needed for maintaining a sustainable environment? At sunset, in a small park on a bluff above the ocean, we began reading from the Book of Lamentations. 3 rabbis stood before us, candlelight playing shadows across their faces. The crowd had grown large. Seated on flat rocks and woven beach chairs, people huddled in anticipation. A middle-aged man in a blue shirt and sandals searched on his phone for the text. 2 women with short brown hair studied the text on paper. And as we read, I could hear the agony of time in the play. Blessed. But you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. Your throne endures through the ages. Why have you forgotten us utterly, forsaken us for all time? In their misery experiencing the destruction of the temple, time seemed endless. They had no guarantee God would act in deliverance. The horror of their reality stretched into the future, onward without end. Anyone who has suffered a great loss knows this feeling. I'm watching a Ford Expedition SUV pass me on the left. It's got twin tailpipes spewing carbon into the night air. We are facing our own horror, the specter of what the UN chief calls global burning. New England winters are disappearing. The Atlantic meridional overturning circulation stream may collapse by 2025. Will we plead in desperation like people in the Book of Lamentations, spreading out our hands with no one to comfort us? Will we wake in the middle of night with time dragging on in our fear and deep dread? Why my brain works this way, I don't know. It's a mystery, but it's also a useful tool. In this time of Elul, before the high holidays, it's time to slow down and reflect on where we've been and where we're going. Let time stretch. It's time to pay more attention.
Wow, thank you for bringing that connection to Tisha B'Av and the grief and the earth into this context. And time is, I remember when I was about 9 having, discussions with my scientist father and my brothers about time and what's time, infinity. So it's something that just does stretch our hearts and our minds in order to sort of try to figure out what it's all about when we stop and think about time and stopping and thinking about what's going on for us now. So thank you, and as well as thanking for, teching yourself tonight. But so I just invite you to offer some reflections on the Etudes.
Yes, I've been writing them since I moved to Massachusetts in 2015. And I think each time I write one, it's about some aspect of my life that I'm thinking about. And this year, this thing about the perception of time, I've thought about it for a long time. I studied neuroscience, and it was something that I've always wanted to write about. And this year I'm working on a novel, The Swallow and the Nightingale. No, that's my first one. I'm working on a prequel of it called The Mind and the Star. And so I'm doing a lot of research into the mind. And I've been reading a lot of books about about how our minds work. And so it's pretty up there for me why I decided to write about this. And I just want to say Kara and Rabbi Katie have been helping me with this novel. So it's because the star part is the Jewish side of it. So
Yeah.
that's why I wrote it. It's something I'm really thinking about a lot. And I was glad to kind of tie it together of why it fits in with slowing down and thinking.
Right. And connecting to our connect. So it's a really interesting thing because time is, as you've said, is intangible, and yet you're connecting us to the very tangible process of changing the climate of the
Yeah.
planet we live on. So there's this connection between tangible and intangible in a very beautiful way. So thank you. Well, I think, is there another etude writer here who was going to read? Because I think that's everybody.
That is everybody.
That is everyone. Okay, good. So we still have a little bit of time, which is good. So I just want to invite everyone who's here to just offer your own thoughts, reflections on what you've heard tonight, or the etudes you've read, or whatever feels like you'd like to share about this whole journey that we've been making together. So if anybody would like to comment, please just unmute yourself and go ahead. Anybody got an etude right? Yes, yes, Enid, hello.
Thank you. Greetings from Cleveland, Ohio. I thank you all who read this evening. Just beautiful and very thoughtful and very meaningful pieces. I have to say, Thea, when I heard you say or read time is like slime, I automatically jumped back to Judy's muck. And it seemed to me that the whole idea of, the slime, the muck, causing us just to slow down and to take in what it is that we are seeing, what we are feeling, what we are thinking about. And I appreciated those two pieces that kind of spoke across the time of our time together this evening.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for putting these bookends on our time on the reading of the etudes. You're right. That was perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Kara.
I wanted to follow up on that. There's a Yoruban proverb, in order to find our way, we must get lost. And the idea that time is sloshy. Bayo Akomolafe talks about time being sloshy. And I think if we remember that in Jewish contexts, that we have so much to learn from our ancestral pasts, from our ancestral wisdoms, our ancient technologies, and that can give us a sense of bolstering in the midst of the overwhelm, so that we're not overwhelmed by the collective and individual grief.
Yes, reconnecting to what ancestral wisdom is like such a good thing. And there is this I don't know, something flitted into my brain and out again. So somebody else wants to go ahead, please do. I was going to say something, but I don't remember what it was. So
Okay, this is Andy. I wanted to say that this time of year gets very busy for some people, getting ready for school and college and work and stuff. And an event like this helps us to slow down and remember that this is Elul. This is a really important time for a Jewish person. I'm really happy I could participate in this.
well, I was happy to have you here, and this has been definitely an evening of slowing down and letting our hearts be enriched by. And I have to say, there's something very different about seeing you and hearing you read it as opposed to just reading it on the computer or the phone or wherever. So this has been wonderful.
Rabbi Katie, if I may.
Yes,
This is
please,
Fred
Fred.
Davis. Thank you, Rabbi. This is Fred Davis. I'm currently the president of JCAN, and I just want to say this is a fantastic program. My wife Lucinda and I are rolling right now, so we're Zooming while Zooming. So I can't necessarily see you all, but I heard all the program, and it's just beautiful from time to slime and back again. And what a great collection of thoughts, and to have such brilliant writers and readers and performers all on one program. How special that is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred. I just want to read a comment from Gabriela because she says, I have no voice tonight, but this made me think of all my days spent in nature where the horrors of the world can't touch me. Makes me sad to think some of my favorite places and possibly even 10 years not being here. Yeah, that is some of it's already happened and some of it's anticipating. So we carry those bits of grief for what we've lost and for what we anticipate losing. And this tonight and these etudes are a reminder that, there is strength that we can find to deal with whatever it is. And, because we have our personal issues too, but then we get touched by these global issues, and then the communal issues. And, just as in the same way that those purifications on many levels, we have those issues on many levels, and they all interconnect in our hearts. And this has really brought voice to the power that enables us to keep going. So I appreciate so much what each one of you has written, and I'm also grateful to those of you who listened in. Does anybody else want to add anything? Please do. Yes, first Thea and then Judy.
I wanted to ask Rabbi Robin about her farm and what's happening with it, and when is it going to be a farm?
So thanks, Thea, and thanks for your beautiful sharing, everybody. So we've been a little bit waylaid because of water, and one of the questions that I'm desperately trying to get expertise on, and I'd love a recommendation from anyone here if they have one, is whether or not cisterns are better above ground or below ground. We're looking at like 2,000-gallon cisterns because we have an ample roof and can collect a fair amount of water that way. So I've heard pros and cons of both, and that's going to be a really important piece for us before we start really doing a lot of planting, because we want to make sure that we don't overtax our well. So the plans the plans get exciting, and they make, we make big goals, and then we pull back, and then we make more goals and we pull back. Please God, we'll have some things planted by the spring, if not before. And it'll be a slow process, I think, of building a little bit each year, which is part of the permaculture way of working with the land and letting things evolve organically. Wow. I'm sorry, Katie.
No, that's beautiful. That's great. I mean, thank you. Yes, we all want to see it. Like next year, you're gonna have pictures of the process. Every year, like another picture from your garden, right? Right. So we see it. Yes. Judy, did you want to say something?
So I was just thinking that, I mean, it's clearly so many of these pieces spoke to the grief and the challenges that we are facing. Challenges is such a teeny little way of expressing this. I mean, it's so much in our faces. And yet, as a chaplain, I often will listen for where there might be a hope in a situation. And I think in coming together that we can perhaps build some hope. And I think that there has been, I was sitting here scribbling. I know I'm going to get the etudes in my inbox, and I know that I'm going to have them written out, but there was so much inspiration, so much richness in this evening. And first off, I want to again say thank you, Katie. This is just, we all owe a debt of gratitude. This is just tremendous and wonderful. I'm hoping we might be able to repeat this. I don't know whether you'd be inclined, whether you'd be game for it or not, but and if not, maybe somebody else might take up the challenge of doing all the tech stuff and gathering us. But there has been, I'm coming away from the evening not only with a feeling of having been sacred witness to so much of what is grief-inducing about the situation we are facing, but also that there is potential for hope, and that in coming together we can inspire each other and bolster each other and encourage each other, and perhaps see a way forward that will allow us to continue to live on this planet and not have everything come back to bite us, and not be able to continue to exist as a people, as a species even.
So this is this, as long as we're living and breathing human beings, then we whatever it is that's happening, that's what we have, and that's what we have to work with, and that's what we have to deal with it. And each one of you today has given us some tools and some inspiration for that process. And like time, hope is intangible. And what does it really mean? And it's different from optimism, and it's a life force that keeps us going. And so so Kara,
If
yeah.
if we think of hope in the context of courage as Jews, of looking at multiple perspectives, where we're looking through multiple perspectives, that these interlocking oppressions that can be so overwhelming because they are so connected, the racism, the misogyny, the climate chaos. But then if by changing the lens, seeing that because they are all interconnected, that can give us actual, again, a jumping point, because we reach one thread, and the thread is connected as
Right,
in every
right.
tapestry. And that I think is really courage building.
Yeah, because it's our interconnectedness, like the web of life, the web of everything. It's all just, everything is connected. Everything is connected. That was the last conference we did in JCAN. We called it "Everything is Connected," because it's just so true. And you're saying it is the yeah, right. Thank you. It's the beauty of it. I mean, it is. That's where the beauty lies. That's where the beauty lies. Yeah. Okay, we've got a bunch of books and things that people are sharing and showing. So, and actually, Thea put into the Etudes a reminder that we did 2018, we published, you can get it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or from the publisher, the Earth Etudes for Elul. There's, thank you, Leslie. We've got that. So if you want to read some more, you can also go back through the websites and see more, but that's a nice little book to keep by your bedside when you're
I
trying.
have a question for Kara. Where can you see the whole piece? Is that someplace?
Yeah. I'll put it, it's on YouTube. I'll send you I can put it in the chat. And then it has the description that the video actually did get cut off. And then it has the description of what these costumes were about. Let me put that in the group. And then also it's a reference to Thomas Berry, to
Yeah.
theologian Thomas Berry as
Yeah,
another
that was great.
grounding point for us.
Yes, definitely.
May I make a statement too? This
Yeah.
has been meaningful on so many levels, and perhaps unexpectedly so, for all of the reasons that have been shared already, and for some perhaps that we're going to process through as we go through our evening tonight and awaken tomorrow. I want to just place an offer to folks if you're interested in an embodied earth-centered journey through Elul. In addition to these beautiful etudes, check out limitlessjudaism.com. Actually, send me an email. I'm just going to put my email here because I'm doing a daily email and I'm posting on social media. So each day there's a practice. And if this feels like it might be right for you, I'd love to involve you in any way that that feels good to you. So there's my email.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Yes, those are beautiful. Those are beautiful.
And here's
Whoa, this is
media.
wonderful. Okay, so a very, there's this thing about doors closing and doors opening and all that kind of thing. And so
I just want to say, Robin, the whole group, oh, there, just got
Yeah,
it.
I sent it accidentally to Kata.
Got it. Yeah, sometimes that
okay,
happens.
good. Okay, great.
I
Yes.
also want to mention, Rabbi Katie, maybe you want to say something about what we're going to be doing, JCAN's going to be doing in
Yes.
September.
So I'm going to mention two things. One is, which has happened to me a couple of times, I miscounted like days of Elul, and I had enough etudes and I was going to write one and I didn't write one and then it's like, well, can I put two together? And no, it doesn't feel like two short poems together or something. No, I don't want to do that. So so I decided I wasn't going to write one. And then I had this inspiration. And so I'm going to be writing a little piece of reflection from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. And the first one explains it, but my mother had a saying, which my mother's Zichra Livracha, which my brother repeats still many times, which is the challenge in life is how do we turn our pain into beauty? And so each one of the days is going to be a real reflection on that theme as we go from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. So I invite you. Those are going to be on the Mayan Tikva site. I'm not sure that we're going to be posting them other places, but I invite you to that. And yes, so one of our etude writers, Malka Bina Klein, she has started something called the Sackcloth Project, which she has actually like a dress made of sackcloth. We wear this mourning that we dress ourselves in, we have sackcloth and ashes as signs of our mourning and our grief. And of course, God says, well, I actually want more than that. I want your actions. But it is this symbol in, biblical times of how we grieve together. And so she started this project, which is the idea to just pin a piece of sackcloth on your clothing and to allow that to be an external sign of your grief in relation to the planet. So she is doing with us a program that's going to be, I don't remember the date, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. There it is, Thursday, September 21st. So what's that, like a month, 4 weeks from tonight. And Yom Kippur and ritual and reflection and connecting in with the story of Jonah and ritual. And I think it's going to be really, really, really interesting. So I invite you to watch for that and to join us then for the next in our, and some point later on in the year, we're going to show this movie, The Balabushkas of Chernobyl, about these women who still live around Chernobyl because they refuse to leave their homes. So that's something to look forward to sometime later on in the fall. So thank you all for coming. And it's just been really wonderful to see you all. Thank you to all of you Etude writers and everyone who's been here. This has been so wonderful.
I think Kara has something to say.
Oh, yeah.
Since you mentioned Chernobyl and since we're speaking about courage and possibilities, and Robin with your farm, there were bird's eye view vision after Chernobyl of farms nearby that were lush and fertile, that had been unaffected, and they were following biodynamic principles. So they were following Rudolf Steiner's permaculture principles, and they weren't eviscerated. They weren't devastated. And just as a reminder, even in the midst of that immediate horror, and of course these immediate horrors that are happening every day, but that there are these pockets of wisdom that we need to remember.
That's a beautiful story. That's wonderful. Thank you. That's what a note to go out on. Yes. Okay. Thank you for that, Cara. Thanks, everybody. Take care. And Shana Tova, good change to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Shana Tova.
Thank
Bye.
you.